Most people spend their lives trying to prove they're doing well. They dress the part, talk the part, and move through the world trying to signal success. But there's a quiet group of people who do the opposite. They look average, maybe even like they're barely getting by, not because they lack resources, but because they understand the power of appearing like they don't. This isn't about pretending to be poor. It's not about shame or hiding. It's about moving wisely, staying under the radar, and giving yourself the freedom to grow without constantly performing for other people's approval. When you stop trying to look successful, you start making very different decisions. You begin to notice how much money is lost just maintaining an image, upgrading clothes, chasing trends, showing up to the right places. But when you let go of the need to prove anything, something changes. You spend less, not because you're depriving yourself, but because you realize that peace and financial freedom feel better than praise. You stop living for applause and start living for purpose. The fewer expectations others place on you, the more freedom you gain. When people think you're just getting by, they leave you alone. No one asks for favors, no one pressures you to level up, and no one tracks your every move. You're left in peace to focus on your own goals, and that peace becomes your power. It protects your attention, your energy, and your money. You don't owe anyone an explanation, and that gives you room to breathe and build. One of the biggest financial traps people fall into is lifestyle inflation. Your income increases and suddenly you feel the need to increase everything else to match. But expenses grow faster than savings. Pressure grows faster than progress. And just like that, you're back where you started, only with more stuff and more stress. But when you choose not to raise your visible lifestyle, even when your income rises, you protect the most important thing. The gap between what you earn and what you need. That gap is where wealth is built. And if no one sees that gap, no one can shrink it. Keeping a low profile helps you stay centered. When your life is simple, your mind is clearer. You're not distracted by outside noise or other people's opinions. You don't feel pushed to impress anyone. And that gives you space to make smarter, slower, more intentional decisions. It becomes easier to say no, easier to wait, easier to walk away. That's not weakness, that's freedom. The kind of freedom that gives you an edge most people never experience because they're too busy keeping up. When no one is watching you closely, you get to build without pressure. You make progress quietly. You don't feel the need to announce every move. That privacy becomes a shield. It protects you from premature expectations. It lets you fail and learn in peace. It lets you pivot, adjust, and grow without the weight of judgment. You're not stuck performing. You're simply living. This mindset also makes you more resourceful. When you stop solving problems with spending, you learn how to think through them. You become creative. You use what you have wisely. You stretch your tools. You take care of your things. And that habit becomes part of who you are. It doesn't fade when you earn more. It scales. Because the lessons you learn from doing more with less never expire. They compound. You also begin to understand the real value of things. You no longer buy to be seen. You buy for impact, utility, and growth. Every dollar has a purpose. You question your spending. You start asking better questions. Do I need this? What does this bring me? Could this money be used in a smarter way? That's where true financial intelligence begins. Not in how much you make, but in how well you make decisions with what you have. Keeping things low-key gives you full control over your story. You choose what people know. You decide what's shared and what stays private. In a world obsessed with sharing everything, privacy becomes a luxury. And privacy brings power. People can't form opinions about things they don't see. They can't compare your progress. They can't influence your path. You move quietly, and that lets you grow without interference. When people underestimate you, you get the advantage. You get to be underestimated. You get to be counted out. And then you get to surprise them. Not for the sake of ego, but because you've been building quietly all along. No one sees it coming. That's the strength of staying low. It gives you space to rise on your own terms. Avoiding the spotlight also removes the pressure to constantly perform. You don't need to dress a certain way, talk a certain way, or show off. You're not burdened by the fear of falling short in public. That stress disappears, and with it goes the emotional weight that comes from living for likes, comments, and approval. Instead, you live for clarity, growth, and consistency. There's also something powerful about doing well and saying nothing. Quiet success carries a different kind of energy. It feels stable. It feels earned. It doesn't rely on applause. It doesn't need confirmation. It just exists, simple and unshakable. That's what happens when you stop performing and start building. The results speak for themselves. When you live below your means and don't advertise your wins, you position yourself to invest more. You're not spending everything you make. You're saving, stacking, and preparing. You're thinking ahead. not reacting to today. And that kind of thinking creates security. It builds margin. It creates opportunities that others miss because they're too busy chasing what's visible. And here's something no one tells you. Most of the richest people don't look like it, not because they can't, but because they don't need to. They already have what matters, and they understand that showing less often protects more. They avoid unnecessary noise, they move with intention, and they win quietly. Living this way teaches you discipline. It builds patience. It strengthens your values. You become immune to trends. You stop chasing attention. You find joy in simplicity. You respect your money, and your money begins to respect you back. You also reduce financial risk. When you're not carrying huge expenses just to look successful, you have more breathing room. One bad month won't break you. One emergency won't destroy everything. You're protected because you're not overextended. You've built your life on calm choices, not pressure points. Eventually, this mindset becomes second nature. You're not faking modesty. You actually prefer it. You've felt the peace it brings. You've seen how it protects you, and you'd rather stay quiet and free than loud and stressed. That's wisdom. That's wealth. And you earned it. Not by trying to look rich, but by choosing not to. So here's the truth. Appearing broke doesn't mean you're falling behind. It means you're rising differently. You're not chasing a spotlight. You're chasing freedom. You're building something that can't be shaken because it's rooted in discipline, simplicity, and clarity. You don't need to announce your growth. You don't need to upgrade your life every time your income increases. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. The results will speak. The peace will show. And the freedom you've built will carry you through. In the end, it's not about looking broke for the sake of image. It's about living below the noise. It's about stacking in silence. It's about staying free from financial pressure. Because the less you advertise, the more you protect. The less you show, the more you grow. This is why modest living is not weakness. It's strength. It's strategy. And in a world that wants you to spend more, show more, and chase more, hey, it's your greatest advantage. When everyone else is caught in a cycle of overexposure and overspending, you choose a different path. A quieter one, a smarter one that isn't controlled by trends, attention, or pressure. Let others chase the spotlight. Let them compete for applause, likes, and validation. You don't need that. You're chasing something deeper. Freedom, stability, and time. The kind of freedom that lets you wake up without panic. The kind of stability that doesn't crumble when income slows down. The kind of time that allows you to think clearly, move with purpose, and live fully. You're not falling behind. You're moving smart. You're choosing peace over performance, value over vanity, and long-term wins over short-term noise. While the world rushes to show success, you take your time building it, quietly, steadily, with intention. And if that means appearing broke while building wealth, so be it. That's not a downgrade. That's the real upgrade. Because every dollar you save, every expense you avoid, and every flashy distraction you reject is a step closer to real independence. Because you know something they don't. Success doesn't have to be seen. It just has to be built. Quiet success is still success. And when it's built right, it doesn't need to scream. It lasts.